Hey, welcome to the 61st Minute podcast of Community Bible. I am Tim Homa. I'm your host, and I'm with my co-host, Nick Kerouac. Nick, how you doing today, buddy?
Man, I am doing good. I told Richy back in the podcast part, I don't know if it'll be in it or not, but I wanted him to coach me in racquetball, and now I'm a little nervous about it. When he said 140 mile per hour, that ball goes.
I'm just telling you that our lead pastor is phenomenal at racquetball.
Maybe a good coach. I mean, if I need to learn how to do it.
He plays against some of the best in the country and can hold his own. Come play pickleball with your boy Tim here, and you're going to fit right in because, honestly, I was moving around pretty good on the court until I got home, and then I was like, ooh, that's going to hurt in the morning. But yeah, pickleball, man, that might be more your speed.
See, and now that you said that, I want to play racquetball even more.
There are a lot of different age groups that play pickleball.
I'm not saying
is younger than
I
you.
have pickleball stuff. I'm just saying that because you said, yeah, maybe you need to play pickleball. It's a little more your speed. Like now I want to go play professional tennis.
Okay, I'm from Vegas. I'm a betting man. Here's the deal. One time, you're going to play racquetball one time, and then you're going to say, Tim, hey, can I play pickleball? Because that's what's going to happen. Hey, but I thought it was a good discussion today. Wrap up of the series on 1010, The Abundant Life, and I just think forward motion, man. We're ready to move into a new series, and that all part of the plan.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to kind of come into the 1010 life, and you're discussing, really what we're all seeking after.
Right.
And we talked about 2 weeks ago in the podcast how, even those who don't have faith, even though they wouldn't define it as the 1010 life, that's what everyone's seeking. We all have it in our hearts. I believe God creates us with the desire to seek that. Yeah. And so now we have this thing of pursuing, of the goal of, hey, I want to live that 10-10 life. And then we go into this next series, and it's, now here's where we start.
And I think the bottom line to today in our podcast is, if we want that abundant life, we got to be on Jesus' hip. We've just got to trust him, listen to his voice. He's not going to lead us the wrong way. He'll take us through the storms. He'll take us through the moments of joy, and we'll get to experience it with him.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're going to enjoy it today. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good podcast. Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. That he beat you on the back of the head with a racket and left us.
I don't care if he cares.
No, but he's not going to care when he swings and you're in his way. He ain't going to go, oh, sorry. He's going to say, you got in my way as you're bleeding on the court. I'm just telling you, you're going to be bleeding on the court. I'm being serious. The bro is going to take a swing at 140 mile an hour speed, club head speed, and he's going to hit you in the back of the head. You're going to go, ow, that hurt. He's going to go, sorry, you're in my way. That's what's going to happen.
That's what Richy's going to do.
That's what Richy's going to do.
My lead pastor, the man who is responsible for being my shepherd, is going to smoke me with a racquetball.
He did say that he burned 1,700 calories in an hour and a half.
You believe that?
No.
You don't believe that for a second?
That dude's 59, going to be 59 next month. 1,700? That's a whole meal for you and I at lunch.
That's a big meal for us. Together. I was like, dang, dude, what are you eating?
No, together.
So what'd you eat for lunch today? I ate a whole package of bacon.
Okay, let's just say we had 1,700 calories for our day. Our day, right? That's about normal, right?
Yeah, he didn't burn that much.
He's not burning 1,700. I mean, it's great.
Well, actually, I'm going to claim that he did burn that much because he won't fire me. Or he won't fire you for calling him a liar. But if I call him a liar, he might fire me.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. Anyways,
Richy, I believe you, and you tell the truth, and you do nothing but get it accurately.
And I don't.
Richy's here.
Okay, good. Come on in, Richy.
That's funny.
Yep.
It might be locked.
Use your key. Okay, you don't have a key. Our
lead pastor doesn't have a key.
There are days in ministry.
We were talking about pickleball.
I would like for you to teach me to start playing racquetball.
Come on. I'll be there today.
And
Here's
I need
the deal.
him to be my coach.
You are going to get concussed, you were going to get abused. And here's the reason why. And I'm not saying because of you. You're going to put yourself in a position that you can't be on the court, and it's going to cost you some serious pain. But hey, knock yourself out, Nick. Have some fun.
Here's the reason why. All right, I was running consistently every week, and then it got dark and cold, and I haven't been doing as much cardio, which is fine. I've been going to the gym, lifting weights almost every day. But I was talking to Allison, I'm just like, gosh, I need to increase my cardio right now. And I've always been better at cardio when it's something that's a little bit competitive, whether competitive with yourself or competitive with others. And we were talking about it the other day, and I was like, I think I want to learn how to play racquetball.
Yeah. The thing is, it's not whether it's pickleball, racquetball thing. The key is to keep moving.
Oh. And the thing about pickleball, though, is you're not going to burn more as you get better at this. At my age, what's going to happen is you're going to get better at the game of contact.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing doubles, you're limited in your movement. I mean, it. But it's so competitive and so much fun, and it's movement, and I'm dialed in. Hey, Richie, nothing but great things from this past Sunday I've heard. I unfortunately was not there, but I was around other campuses. But this has been a really good series. So way to go, choosing to go this route at the beginning of the new year. I think it's perfect, leading right into our next series called Fundamentals, and I just think, man, way to go, way to choose this. Yeah.
Well, it was a team decision. I mean, one of the things about our leadership model here is there's usually not a singularity of idea that permeates all of our, direction. You got a lot of people speaking into a lot of different things. And so what I love about this team is, we kind of launched out, wanted to do Live Beyond. You told me in December, hey, we probably need to adjust this series a little bit. And then everybody speaks into it. It's a really good world that we have here at CB where a lot of people get to speak into what we're doing. So I don't take full credit for it.
Richie, the part of your sermon that we've heard the most about is the scuba diving story.
The snorkeling. The snorkeling.
Was it snorkeling or scuba diving?
Snorkeling.
Oh, snorkeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will you give us that story again for those who didn't hear it?
Well, the abbreviated version is I like saltwater stuff, and I used to have those saltwater aquariums in my office in a home. And we were doing a marriage retreat with a nonprofit called Lead 222 that coaches youth pastors, and my wife and I had to be there. Pretty pumped. I was in Cabo, and there's snorkeling there, but not everywhere. So it's limited because there's strong currents, strong waves, and you just can't go out and snorkel like you can like in Cancun. But there was a guy in part of our organization, Tim knew him, who was like a trainer of Navy SEALs. This dude was in the Pacific. He was a pro scuba diver, everything, and he wanted to snorkel. So we went out and, man, he showed me things I'd never seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And it was so much fun. And we get about 200 yards, and he kind of gets this weird look on his face. He says, we ought to head back. It took us almost an hour to get back, and it was dangerous. There were big waves, and they were beating us up. I didn't know how dangerous we got back. And I said, Jim, what happened out there? And he said, man, I just saw everything changing, and it was pretty bad. And I said, how bad? And he said, I was a little worried. Listen, when you got a Navy SEAL guy worried about something, then I got worried.
It's time to be worried, yeah.
And I was just thinking, I'd have never got it back without following him. And that's kind of Jesus, is that, our life, we get to experience great things in him. But when life gets tough, if we just get behind him, he gets us to safety.
And you said did he tell you, hey, stay on my hip?
He did. I mean,
But he never gave you more than that, like while you were out there.
He really didn't. He just said, hey, listen, we're heading back. Just get behind me and stay with me. And if you need to surface, just, hit my fin or hit my leg, and we'll get a breath and go. But yeah, he didn't say, hey, Fisher, there's tides coming in and wait. I'd have freaked out. And he just said, get behind me, follow me. And that's what I did. And I tried to do what he did and go where he went.
How many times during that journey back to shore did you kind of hit that moment where you're like, man, I'm going to trust him, but I'm going to stay kind of quiet here. But man, like, what on earth are we doing?
There was a moment that we turned behind this, because this reef's just right under the water, and the waves are just beating us to death. And I follow him in between these two big reefs, and the water's probably 15 feet deep, so you couldn't touch. And I'm just getting beat up.
Are they like slamming you against these reefs?
Yeah. You're getting cut and you just, it's terrible. And I thought, what is he doing? Let's just go back to let's just go straight to the shore. Because we were zigzagging and going this way and going that way. And I thought, I don't think he there was a fleeting thought.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what he's doing. And then I went, Navy SEAL. Probably does.
So so in the moment, you kept your mouth shut. I mean.
Well, yeah, what do you do? Tell this dude,
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing. Let me take over.
We're supposed to go that way.
Yeah.
But man, what a cool illustration. Like, as someone who gets to teach every now and again, and I'm sure you love when one of those illustrations just fall right into place. Specifically with what you're teaching. And that one was one of those, I'm like, man, that fits,
Well, I didn't think it did. I was actually not struggling, but I was just thinking back, a couple of weeks ago about all the times. I was actually thinking of one where I followed a car that I thought it was my wife, and it wasn't. And I ended up following this car in the completely wrong direction that took me like 30 minutes out of the way.
They're on the phone with the sheriff's
department.
And
I was like,
this guy's following
dude's
me.
following me. So I was thinking of that story. That sometimes I could be following the wrong person.
Yeah.
And but then I just remember when Jim said, man, just get behind me, follow me, we'll get to shore. And I was like, oh yeah, that kind of fits.
So what was your connection? I mean, we heard it Sunday, but kind of where it doesn't just, it's kind of like following Jesus, but really deeper within. And there's a lot there when it comes to following Christ that, man, you may not know where we're going. It may be through some treacherous waters, but he's...
Well, I think two things. One, when Jesus says, I've come to give you life to the fullest, we really minimalize that into something he didn't mean, like, it'll be okay being a Christian or it'll be a good life. No, he's saying, I'm giving you a bunch of life, overflowing, incredible. And so one of the things Jim was able to do in the water is show me stuff I wouldn't have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's literally going down, picking up sea cucumbers and picking up stuff. And there's an octopus and all these little fish. And we're seeing all this stuff. And I'd have never seen it. I'd have seen the coral and I'd have seen a couple of things. But he's really showing me stuff that I wouldn't have seen. And then Jesus has done that in my life. When I surrendered to ministry almost 40 years ago, I didn't know what that meant. And I look back on it and, you guys are in ministry as well. And you think of these great, rich moments where you've seen someone come to know Christ. You've helped somebody understand God's word. You've helped somebody turn away from destructive behavior. You've just these rich moments and you go, wow, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And so I had that experience, that in mind first is when you follow Jesus, he's going to take you and show you things that you could never do on your own. That no matter how rich you are or famous you are, the creator of the universe, when he says, follow me, I'm going to give you life beyond your wildest imaginations. He can deliver that.
Yeah.
And then the second thing was that I probably would have never made it back to shore had it not been to Jim.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe, but I didn't have the knowledge, the skills, the certainly the intellect, the experience in strong riptides and reef and all of those issues. And without him, I would have made it back. So Jesus is the same thing. Without a relationship with him, there's no way I'm getting to heaven. There's no way I'm becoming a better version of Richy. There's no way I can do that except through Christ.
I think it's my favorite part was just the idea that oftentimes we think the 10-10 life is an easy life. And it's not. I mean, following Jesus, you're going to get life and life to the fullest. But sometimes, man, it's not Cancun waters and beaches everywhere we go, right? Sometimes following Jesus is getting on his hip and, man, it's going to hurt a little bit. You know?
I think about, you taught about the illustration of the shepherd and the sheep. Mm-hmm. Shepherds always are out in front of the sheep. And the sheep are listening for the voice, but they're also watching. Mm-hmm. But when a sheep is led to slaughter, the leader of that is pushing from behind.
That's true.
And so they're not recognizing that. They're just being forced to go a certain direction. Mm-hmm. You weren't forced by Jim to follow. No. Hey, Jim. Hey, Richy, you go that way. Jim didn't do that. Mm-hmm. Jim got out in front of you. And I think that has a lot to do with the abundant life. When we're following Jesus, he's out in front of us. And there's going to be times where the storms of life are going to hit us. The roads are going to be rocky. We may feel like we are lost. And he says, trust me, just be on my hip. And if you want to stop for a breather, just tap on my shoulder. And Jesus said, well, stop. But I'm going to lead you the right way. It's not going to be easy. The abundant life is not an easy life, but we're going to do it together.
Some believe that when David wrote the 23rd Psalm, and he was a shepherd, that when David wrote the 23rd Psalm, it came at a time when his son was either he had an affair, had Uriah killed, and had been confronted. Life seemed pretty bad. Could have come at a time when his son, that was from an illegitimate relationship, revolted against him and his throne and was trying to overthrow him. So there's a lot of moments in David's life when he says the valley of the shadow of death. It could have been when Saul was saying, I want to kill David. But what David says is, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. And that's from the view of the sheep. Even though, and so the exact language, they think he was talking about a valley, that the predators would get up in the rocks and the sheep would be down in the bottom of it. And it was, the sun really didn't shine there. And so there's a lot of shadows, and sheep are scared of shadows. And predators are up in the hills and watching the sheep and ready to pounce. Mm-hmm. And so even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. So I was thinking about that during my snorkeling experience, or afterwards, and looking back, is that even though in my life I am facing death myself, I am facing enemies, I'm facing troubles and trials, I'll fear no evil because he's leading me. Mm-hmm. He's walking with me, ahead of me, taking care of all of the enemies. And so the shadows that I see are not scary.
Yeah. So even in the sermon, you kind of referenced it a couple times of, my sheep know the shepherd's voice, right? Talking Jesus saying, okay, do you know Jesus' voice? Does he know you? And Jesus knows us when we follow him, that he knows our name, right? We discussed it a little bit yesterday too, Tim and I. And one of the things that sermons like that do, which I think is a positive thing, is it makes us, really all of us, even the most faithful of us, to really self-analyze and ask ourselves of, okay, do I know Jesus' voice? Like, am I pursuing after Christ as a sheep follows his shepherd? My question is, sometimes I think many people can be pushed almost to the point of doubt, where analysis is good, and find that conviction. But oftentimes I wonder, like, how do you draw that line of constantly struggling with doubt going, where do you find the affirmation of, hey, yes, like, you have given your life to Jesus. You're going through struggles. I get it. You're questioning your faith, but almost, hey, be at ease. Like, Jesus is there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to respond to it, but it makes sense.
There you go.
I think in every situation of life, there is a voice that we tend to be drawn to. And if we know that voice, no matter who it is, we tend to follow it, whether good or bad. Mm-hmm. I think there's the reality of the fact that, I don't know if it's a passage or a saying, be careful of wolves in sheep's clothing, right? Mm-hmm. That there is another side of this thing where the enemy will try to disguise itself to make it seem like we're following God, but yet that's the importance of knowing Jesus' voice and Jesus knowing us, so that we follow exactly. And we've talked about it throughout the series. How do we know his voice? Well, his word, prayer, in the community of other believers. And that has been those are the essentials to really knowing Jesus. It's staying in earshot of the true voice of Jesus.
We've all done student ministry. All three of us have. Or next gen ministry. The kid who gives his life to Jesus every week, Yeah. Sometimes I wonder through analyzation, whatever. At what point do you want to be like, hey, like, have peace in your heart? Like, you are following Jesus.
It took the first time. You don't have
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe the third time. Like, it's good that you're pursuing after it. But I think honestly, it just made me think about this yesterday or Sunday when I was listening to it. I was like, man, we do need to self-analyze and ask ourselves, do we know the shepherd's voice? And you even at one point said, some of us may not. Today's the day we can do it, But it does make me wonder, those people who really, really struggle with doubt, like, where do they find that peace? That, I have some relatives that, oh no, I said a cuss word. Did I lose my salvation? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you have people that some people really, did it take? Do I need to be rebaptized? Like, I just don't know where it's at.
And so, one way is that if I have to wake up every morning and say, Jesus, I want to know, I'm giving you my life, I'm going to follow you. If that helps me through the day, not have doubt, then fine, do it. Okay, do it. And he may be sitting and saying, okay, he's giving me your life again. You've already done it. I have your life. But if that works, do it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of times, in moments of contemplation, I rethink that and just want to make sure. The other analogy that you see in Scripture is the relationship that we have with Jesus is very similar to a marriage. And so it would be the equivalent of a March 9th. I'm celebrating our 34th anniversary. So March 9th in 1991, Susan and I got married, okay? So there's a lot of parallel between giving my life to Jesus and me giving my life to Susan in marriage, okay? So it's a covenant relationship. So when we go to Jesus and we give him our life, I talked about this Sunday, we're signing over the title of our life to him, deny ourselves. So the equivalent would be that every day I go to Susan and say, I want to marry you. And she's like, well, we did get married. Really, I want to marry you. Yeah, we're married. No, you don't understand. I want to marry you. I want my life with you. And she's like, yeah, we did that on March 9th. And how silly that would be. Now, how do I know that we got married on March 9th? Well, I have a certificate, actually. Yeah. Look at a marriage certificate. I don't think she and I have it hanging up anywhere. It is somewhere, and we have it. I also have pictures of the event. So I can always look at those pictures and say, okay, there it was, and there's who's that person at the marriage. So I have that. But here's what I have more than anything. I have a relationship with her. Based upon what we did on March 9th, 1991, we have built a relationship. There's never a doubt in my mind or hers that she is mine and I am hers. Every day we express that love to one another, but we don't get married every day because we're already married. So a lot of people who have doubt, the problem is they did something years ago with Jesus. They forgot about it. They never built the relationship. And now they doubt what they did was authentic.
That's good.
So you just, again, I don't doubt Susan and I are married. And I don't doubt her love for me. And she doesn't have my love for her because every day we express that love to one another, but we don't get married every day.
Yeah. The marriage relationship is much deeper than a list of does and don'ts.
Isn't it?
Too,
and,
right?
and the moment. It's much deeper than what we did on March 9th. That was just a one-day event to publicly show we're getting married. And then we made a covenant. I made a covenant to her in front of my family and best friends, to God. I'm going to commit my life to her. That's kind of akin to the salvation relationship. The baptism is an outward expression of an inward decision. We do that. Now, I got to build the rest of my life, what Tim talked about last week.
Religion.
Know the shepherd's voice. Yeah. Spend time with him. Pray to him. Read his love letter to us. And then you won't doubt it.
I had the same thought just now. Man, that falls right back into the religion versus the relationship that you talked about last week.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we look too much as our faith as a religion, which would cause us almost to overflow with doubt.
I look at it in a humorous way. My wife and I are completely opposites. I'm a feeler, she's not. And it's kind of like, when we made that decision to get married, she told me she loved me. And for a long time, I'd always have to be the one saying, I love you, prompted. And it was like one day she looked at me, she goes, when I said I love you when we got married, and if it changes, I'll let you know.
Poor Peter, that's terrible.
I know.
Say it back.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. Like, please just say it back, so I'm reassured. But I think that is, we know that when we made a decision to follow Jesus, He loves us unconditionally. We're not condemned. We are forgiven. There's freedom. But there's times that we make some mistakes, or Jesus, I love you. Can you just remind me that I'm not condemned, and that I have free. But it's a funny way to look at it. But I think there's some truth to that.
Well, you could take your phone now, Tim, and just say, "Hey, listen, Angie, one more time. Would you say it? Wait, let me record this.
Just have it.
Tim, I love you. Record it,
and just then play it over and over. That's right.
Because isn't that what Jesus did with His Word?
Yeah.
I'm doing a memorial service, in about an hour. And one of the verses I'm reading is, "For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him will not perish and have everlasting life." Okay, if you ever doubt God loves you, there it is. Just go back and read His Word. He said it.
That's right.
And just trust it and live in it. But Tim, what you said is people don't know Jesus' voice. They don't know what that feels like because they just don't do it. If you'll start doing it, unbelievably so, you'll start feeling loved by Him.
Yeah.
And you'll start feeling His presence in your life because you're now building on the relationship and on the commitment that you made. Marriage is more than the marriage event. It's a lifelong of learning to love one another and experience one another. And it's that way with Jesus as well. And now we turn to fundamentals where we're talking about,
give us the preview.
Well, now that we know how to follow Jesus, what are the basic things in order for us to become mature in Him? And so we're just picking, 4 basic things. We're going to look at being in community with one another. So that's gathering on a Sunday. What's that about? What's the expression of that? Then we're going to look at His Word. We're going to look at prayer, and we're going to look at worship. And if these 4 things will help you. It's not the only 4.
Yeah, there's more fundamentals than that.
Right, but these 4, if you can begin to work on them, you'll find that your faith life will get stronger. In fact, our key verse is in 1 Timothy that says, "Train yourselves in godliness." This word "train" is what, if pickleball yesterday, racquetball in the near future, is you can't do a sport or be healthy without training. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to look at.
That's cool.
A lot of people don't know this, but there is a strategy behind which we determine what we're teaching on. There is a thread that goes throughout, and we're in the season right now of growing. It is our heart to help our congregation grow in their faith. And so launching into the abundant life. Now, what are the fundamentals, which are going to lead us then into March, where we're going to talk about the book of Job, which is how do you face the storms of life? We have prepared our congregation and ourselves to be really diving into following Jesus. He is our shepherd. And how do we do that? Now, how do we put these into motion, which is going to lead right into Easter?
Because what was our word for fall? Kind of our goal?
Reaching people.
Fall is reach.
Reaching lost people, right? Reaching those in our families or our circle of influence that don't know Jesus. But now we want to grow in our
Year's
faith.
and grow. Yeah. And then when we hit the summer, that's
we build. That's getting to know God's word. We dive into a book of the Bible. So there's a strategy that is intentional so that it prepares us. It's not just that we randomly come up with these topics, but there is definitely...
We're deep in the season of growth right now.
We are, and it's exciting. So thanks, Richy, for leading us well.
Yeah, you bet. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening to the 61st Minute Podcast by Community Bible. Our goal is to release a new podcast every Wednesday reviewing what we discussed during our hour gathering the previous Sunday morning at Community Bible Church. If you don't have a church home, we would love for you to join us on Sundays at 9 o'clock or 10:30 a.m. live at any of our 4 campuses. Also, you can watch online or review Sunday morning sermon at communitychurch.com/messages. Again, that's communitychurch.com/messages. Tune in for next week's episode of the 61st Minute Podcast by Community Bible on main platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to your podcasts.